Hello, I'm Angela.
And I'm Marie, the second half of this mother and daughter team.
Welcome to Chakra Checkups.
We're here to guide you on your quest for spiritual knowledge and enlightenment.
Hello, and welcome back to Chakra Checkups.
Yes, welcome back. Today we have a special guest that we're going to be hearing from. Her name is Christine Martin.
Yeah, and Christine has a holistic interior design company called the Good Abode. And so we brought her on so we can try and combine our well-being into our spaces and hear some tips and tricks from the master herself.
Well, let's welcome her and have her join us now.
Hello.
Hi, welcome.
Hi, thank you. How are you both?
Hi,
Good.
Christine. We're good.
Good.
So, holistic interior design, how does that differ from regular interior design? And how did you get interested in that?
Yeah, so I think I'll start with the second question first. I've mostly do my work online. It was the pandemic really that had me look at interior design in a different way. And I think it really did for people as a whole, because we were, all encouraged to stay at home.
Mm-hmm.
We're going through lockdown, and everybody had no choice but to look at their four walls and really sit with what they call home, what their environment is. And I think it gave people an opportunity to look not just at how their homes work in a functional way, in terms of all of a sudden the kids had to do online schooling. So how are you going to create a space for your kids to do homework and have room for that? And then most people had to resort to remote work and create offices at home. So it was looking at your space in a functional way, but then it was also looking at your space and thinking, gosh, is this really a place where I thrive, where I feel joy, where connection happens, where I feel productive, calm, safe. So what happened in the interior design world during those couple of years was that it really boomed. People started to wanting to redo their living rooms, or create an outdoor space, because being outside with others, socializing wasn't allowed. So so it was just an interesting time to look at homes and make a connection between who we are as dwellers and what our spaces represent to us. And so I started to go down this route of like, what is that? And found myself running into some designers who are really looking at the holistic interior design course by Kimberly Gardner. And I started right away, jumped in, and I've been, working on this course to learn more about it and be certified. Looking at it from a lens of like, well, am I creating a space that is inviting for another person to come in? Or, wanting to be more creative or productive at home, just like also scanning your room and taking note of where there's stuck energy. And that comes in the form of oftentimes of physical clutter, stacks of books, or, unopened mail, or bags of I'm one of these people who has bags and bags and bags of stuff. So it's just it's going through some of that and making the intention of clearing things out so you can make space for new things to come in, and space in your mind and your creative canvas. Yeah,
I've actually had people that I was talking with that tried to get into a relationship with someone and couldn't, just because of that. Their space was so constricted and stuck, and the person they were trying to have a relationship with wouldn't change it, and they just couldn't live in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it makes a huge difference. It's interesting because I had a client who I did a consultation for, and he said, he was ready to call in a woman into his life. So I went into his studio apartment, and it was, it really read as like, I'm a single man and this is my bachelor pad. And,
Mhm.
and there was, he had his bed, but he had one nightstand, not another nightstand on the other side. There was no symmetry. There was no balance. There was no like invitation for another person to be there. So there's like these small things that are there that kind of creep into our subconscious mind that really give the message out to yourself and others of what it is you desire.
Well, and I think the pandemic kind of put a spotlight on everybody's spaces and what was functional or not functional. But then also, I think, like my mom said, our space are such a reflection of ourselves that it also put a spotlight of everything that was not working within ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think so too. And I think people, I mean, I'll give my current example. I was going through some things in storage, and I have this this art print that I really love, and I just kind of without thinking put it on the wall because I needed to fill up the wall with something, and I'm like, oh, I love that print. But then I started to look at it, and I remembered that it was a print that I had purchased with an ex-boyfriend years ago. And the energy of that relationship uh not something that I want to carry with me in this current chapter of my life. And so there are things that we don't realize still have like remnants of a story that you don't necessarily have to like get rid of all things. I could easily take that print and do something else with it, like reframe it, for example, and give it a fresh frame or something like that, so that it has a different intention. But yeah, but I think you're right. I think we all we're starting to look at our homes and and really making like wanting to make conscious decisions of like, okay, moving forward, what what do I want to call into my life? What do I want to invite? And how do I make that? How do I translate that into my home?
Although some things really do hold vibration, it depends on what vibration people intend towards it, or if they, or like you said, if they possibly fight over it or something like that. And for the people that are kinetic, you can touch those things and you can actually get pictures in your
Mhm.
mind about, oh, this happened or that happened, or
Yeah, and I think Marie too. Yeah, there's definitely something to be said about clearing, like doing a cleansing or clearing of things, especially if you're someone who likes to vintage shop or get some cool finds at a secondhand store, or just get nice antiques or a hand me down from a relative. I mean, and I'm a huge proponent, like, let's, reuse things that still have a, good life in it, and not toss things out. But
Yeah,
with the knowledge,
I've been
yeah.
really curious about this exact thing is, it's so good to recycle and reuse and repurpose, but then energetically things do hold on to the vibrations of others. And, like you said, somebody was fighting over something and then it ends up, for sale at a garage sale or something because it doesn't bring them joy. How do you not bring that energy into your home with that piece?
Yeah, and that's where I would do just like I do when I move into a rental, is to do some clearing, like whether that looks like using sage, or just a pendulum, and intentionally like removing any kind of negative energy or any energy that doesn't serve me, and just making that sort of ritual an intention, so that it's not something that I'm bringing into my life. Marie, do you do anything like that in your own home with things, or?
Oh yeah, I do a lot of clearing. And one thing I like to do in a new space is sit down and do a meditation and see a crystal in the center of the room, and then have that crystal, the crystalline structure start to move through the room like a gold crystal. Now it moves across the floor, up the
Mm-hmm.
walls, across the ceiling, and just start to see everything kind of coated in crystal. and
Mm.
and then declare that nothing can be in the space except you know light, and no darkness can be here, and sort of kind of set an energetic with your mind about what's in that space, what's allowed and what's not allowed in that space.
Yeah,
Mm.
I
So
like
you're just
that.
setting up like the energetic boundaries.
Yes.
I think, yeah, I think, and it's like what you were saying, Angela. I think everything does kind of, if you're obtaining something that's already been used, there's certain materials too that absorb more energy than others. So wood, for example, is very porous of energy. So if you've got like a nice big wooden console that came from somewhere, like I used to live in Korea, and I bought this piece that I lugged around everywhere. And it's an antique, but I don't know where it's been, and
Right.
how long it's been on this planet. And so yeah, making that intention of just like clearing it and blessing it in a way, I guess, and just giving it a whole new soul.
And Mom, you were telling me before we got Christine on how you can tell if something's going on with a person based off of what's in the room.
I was telling Angie that if you walk into a house that somebody decorated themselves, if it's not a rental or something, um, most of the time you're kind of looking at their crown chakra.
Mm.
And Angela just built this house and decorated the whole thing herself, and it is her crown chakra. I mean, it's white, it's sparkling white and gold with flashes of blue and teal and a little bit of purple here and there, and it looks like her crown chakra.
Yeah. And is that, Angie, is that something you're conscious of? Like, how did you decide to, select the colors you did or the design that you did for your home?
Well, it's funny, I think just moving from different spaces and evolving as a person, your style just changes a little bit, but this just is like what I'm gravitated to right now, which 5 years ago I wasn't as gravitated to that. I wanted more black picture frames or something else, like
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more color and less white.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's really interesting because it really, you can tell a lot. It's like our homes are a bit like a living vision board. That's what my teacher likes to say, where you can actually place intentions and create opportunities for manifestation by designing your home or picking things and placing them just in the right areas of your house. So, you know, I think when we walk into people's spaces, it's like a real you can pretty automatically pick up on what's working, what's flowing, what's not, the colors they choose, what lights them up. And one of the services I'm starting now is called a design breakthrough, where I just have someone send me a photo of their space, let's say their living room, and it's kind of like a reading, like I'm doing a reading. Like I
Mm-hmm.
can see just from the density of the furniture, whether there's some like heaviness in their lives, or the colors that they pick, if it's feeling like there needs to be some brightness or joy. It's interesting. You can learn so much from someone just from looking at their space.
Angie, the house that she had, that her father and I had bought, when we first bought it, when we went into that house, I remember the woman said, we had all this paint custom made. And I
Mhm.
was looking around and I was thinking, yep, nobody would want to buy this color. You would have to. And she had one hallway done in black and charcoal, and another one in this bloody red color, and one in like
Mm.
oh, just really dark, muddy, strange, weird colors all over the house. And almost every room was a different weird color too. And the realtor kept saying, "Look at the beams on the ceilings. Look at the wood floors."
I
It
mean,
was weird.
yeah. Well, it does. I mean, if I think about a black hallway, so our hallways are like our the area in between moving from one space to another, from one room to another. It's like the artery, right? Right. So you want to keep it flowing. You want to keep it open. You want to, encourage chi to go, go in and out. And black definitely would not be the color I choose for something like that. For something like that. But yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating. I love you know learning about this, because color psychology has been something that that has been written about, and different cultures have different meanings for the colors. And so and obviously we all have subjective responses to colors. So for someone who um, you know someone might respond well to like a blue shade of color in their bedroom, which is known to promote tranquility and stillness and calmness, and so people like to use blue in their room. But for someone else, it just might make them down or depressed, or so it's important to pay attention to how colors make you feel, so where to apply them in your home. You want something a little bit more vibrant and active and encouraging of communication and socialness, like perhaps in the kitchen, and because that's where people tend to gravitate, and there's a lot of energy there. But yeah, but if you've got hyperactive kids, you might want to choose a color for their bedroom that chills them out a bit, like something in the family of a green, like a sage green, or something that's kind of
more
calming and
more grounded.
natural. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
Angie has these new lights in the house, and she was telling me that when she turns on the purple light, she actually is more relaxed and found that calming.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I mean, is that like a bulb in one of your lamps, Angela?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I just wanted to it was one of the things that my mom was saying is what do you call the scopic
Cyscopic photosensitivity.
uh-huh.
A lot of psychic people have difficulty with just really bright black and white. It's very difficult to see, and you put a light filter on something, and it's easier to read and it's easier to see.
Yeah, so
Oh.
I've been reading this book that's quite large with small print and very like stark white pages, and kind
Mhm.
of been jumping around the page and not remembering what I've been reading and having to read it over again. And my mom was talking about this before, and so I got these bulbs and turned them to a light blue or a light purple, and like kind
Mhm.
of a dimmer color, and was noticing actually I was just like reading a lot faster. So
Oh, wow. Wow, that's really cool. Wow. Yeah. Well, so I mean, like Angela, I've moved around a lot, and I'm especially here in Baja, it's just in 2.5 years, I think I've been in 6 spaces, and they're rentals that have other people's stuff in it. So for me to make home in places, my general practice is to remove what's on the walls. Because
yeah.
a lot of time it's not, it's art that doesn't really speak to me. So remove what's on the walls, kind of like if there's a lot of like color or tapestries or different patterns that kind of compete with each other, I put those away too. And I just I have some of my favorite things that I hang up, but I always look at lighting and plants are my key must haves to make a space feel homey and cozy. And a lot of it is just having the right lighting and especially when you're winding down from the day, and your circadian rhythm is really wanting to do the same thing. Is I don't really tend to turn on overhead lights, so I have lamps everywhere, and I like candles and things like that. And then just having plants, having a bit of something that's alive inside, definitely, for me is uplifting, and just makes me feel good. It's definitely a part of what people are looking at now with what they call biophilia, is just our innate desire to connect to nature, and it's just part of being a human, right? We like thrive in nature. We feel good in it. So introducing elements, natural elements or organic elements into your home, your space, does that
Well,
for you.
plants have plant divas in them, and plant divas bring joy.
I didn't know that. Wait, say more. What do you mean plant divas?
Well, every plant has these little. They have these little, like they're like little angels. They're little plant divas, sort of like a little fairy. And when you have a potted plant, usually the plant diva will come with it. So if you bring house plants in, and especially when you're talking to them and you're nurturing them, that encourages the activity of a plant diva to be with that plant. And whenever there's a plant diva around, they have this energy of just pure joy. It's sort of joy. When there are a lot of them around, everyone just starts to giggle and they're happy. I mean, they make you feel very joyful.
Oh, I love that. And I know this. I know that like talking to your plants is definitely a good way to like keep them healthy and happy. But I don't do it enough. So now that I know that there's a diva in there, I'm gonna be talking to them more.
Well, you might be surprised. Sometimes they literally pop right up in front of you, and you can see them. And you don't have to be even psychic to have that happen. But someone like yourself, it's very, very possible they'll just pop up, and there you go. They're right there for you.
All right.
So you're saying they're more likely to come in a potted plant and not likely to happen in like a cut of fresh roses or something.
Oh, no, they're outside too. But I mean, they can, if you're bringing them inside, then you'll have one, in your contained area. So
I guess I'm asking about like a bouquet of flowers that's been cut versus like.
Oh no, not likely. No, they'll stay with a more live plant. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I don't think you'll get them with dried flowers or anything like that. I've never seen them in that situation.
What do they look like?
A lot of times they'll look like a part of the plant. Like there was one that I saw in Brazil that the plant looked somewhat like a calla lily, and the kind of thing that was clothing looked like sort of like an exotic dress, like the calla lily was sort of the outfit wrapped around, and then there was the little head sticking out of the top of that, and the little arms at the top. So it almost looked like someone in this exotic ball gown, of the petal of the plant. And then that just sort of tapered down, and it wasn't really obvious that there was any feet or anything, and just sort of flying around like that.
And this is without taking mushrooms or anything like that?
No, it was actually, we were a whole bunch of people. We were sitting around having coffee, and there were these books on the plants of Brazil, and we started talking about that and saying, I love this plant. I love plants. And we all start talking about them. And all of a sudden they started popping up in front of us.
Wow.
And then of course we were all so happy. And then, here's another one. Oh, wow. Here, get the book. What plant is this? And then we could see by the way they looked, we could find the plant.
Yeah.
Because they had similar characteristics.
Interesting. Wow.
I just got this one plant that I am obsessed with, but I just feel like it has so much personality. It's one of these tropical leaf plants, and at night it kind of closes up and all of the leaves become more vertical, and then during the day when there's more sunshine the leaves kind of like move. And so I feel like every time I look at this one, it like already naturally has a lot of personality, but then you start to talk to it and it kind of like shakes its leaves more and things like that.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That's so great. I'm definitely going to start talking to my plants more. Yeah, I mean, they bring so much. You're right. They bring so much joy, and also, you know, if you're, you know, kind of melancholic or feeling depressed or something, like being able to take care of something is, you know, kind of shifts that energy too. And so having something that's green and thriving in your home is helpful.
And breathing, it's a breathing thing in your home too.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I just recently was looking at. I had noticed that one of the small plants in our on our stairwell was really done. I mean, sure, her leaves were completely crispy and dry, and you know, and I had ignored it for so long, and I thought, oh my gosh, you know what? I just, you know, I started to like also notice in myself that my mood was a little bit on the lower side of things. So I finally took it upon myself to, you know, change out that plan and bring in a new one, and, you know, really give it some love and put it back on that in that corner, because we round that corner every day. I don't know how many times a day. But having something that's vibrant and alive and healthy, you know, even if you're not conscious of it, you're like, look, you take a glance at it and it's giving you the message of like, okay, you know, you know, life is vibrant, healthy, good. You know, it's a nice pick me up reminder.
Well, I think anytime you take the time to energetically improve your space in any way, whether it's bringing up a plant or finally clearing out that corner, it like does make you feel good as well. So just finally clearing some of that energy that might be stuck in those areas.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of power in that. And it's not, you know, I think people get overwhelmed with the concept of decluttering because it feels, you know, like a big job. But if we start with like one surface, let's say like the top of your coffee table, or, you know, that one corner in your kitchen counter, or, you know, part of the closet, and just take it in baby steps. You know, it does feel really good when you're able to like successfully complete one area and make room and see it, and, you know, see the difference and the change.
I met this one yogi one time and he said it's really simple. Just look at that area and then you're trying to clear, and then just ask yourself, what here makes my heart sing?
Mm-hmm.
And then just remove everything that doesn't.
Yeah, that's the Marie Kondo method too. Is that, you know, she wrote the book about decluttering, and that's basically it. It's just like, what is it useful to me? Asking the questions: is it useful to me anymore? Does it make me happy? You know, and then just really making decisions based on that. Because it may make somebody else happy, you know. You're also able to, if you're donating things, or if they end up in a secondhand store, it could make someone else space feel good and happy too. Yeah.
So can you share some tips with us of, you know, you've been moving into all of these houses, and some apartments and things don't have the best light. What would you suggest to clear some of these spaces, move furniture around, or just in generally make them flow better?
Yeah. So I mean, these are the things that I really think design doesn't have to be good. Design doesn't have to be expensive or like a huge investment. A lot of people feel deterred by interior design because of that. I think honestly, our spaces can feel good with exactly what you just mentioned, Angie, is looking at your lighting, like arrangement of furniture and things, and just, you know, having things in your space that also speak to you, that make you feel good. So personalizing your space. So especially in rentals, it's you know, it's about a lot for me is about rearranging. It's about maybe moving this chair from this corner to this corner, and seeing the shift, or, you know, an art piece on a wall that you know, there might be several on a wall, and spacing them out, or removing one, or you know, rolling up a rug that, like, perhaps the color doesn't feel good to you, like you walk in and it's just like it doesn't, it's not inspiring, or it doesn't, you know, make you smile, or, you know, rolling it up, and having, you know, having a rather have a rugless flooring than have something that, you know, doesn't feel good. And then with me, it's I honestly have carried around light bulbs with me from place to place, because I cannot stand the cold light bulbs. So, you know, the ones that have like the, almost like the you know,
The fluorescent.
fluorescent lighting. It feels like you're in a dentist chair or something like that. It's gotta have warm bulbs for me. So I like to make sure I've got, you know, fixtures, lamps in different places, and that are, you know, is useful for, like, of course you want good lighting over your kitchen. So for tasks like cooking, or, you know, if you're reading, you want a good reading lamp. But having options to, like, be able to dim your lights if you can, if you've got dimmers, that's awesome. Or even though, you know, our culture isn't so based on candle lighting, like in a lot of Nordic countries, it's so nice at night to have, like, the kinetic lighting, the flickering flame. It's just there's an element of warmth and comfort that comes from lighting a candle, or it, like, brings also, like, ritual to what you're doing, whether you're sitting down at dinner with somebody else, or, like, sometimes I have just a small candle right by my bed, and I light it before I go to sleep, and I, you know, may do a little bit of reading, but then I go through and, like, have my gratitudes for the day, and then blow out the candle, and it's just kind of like the end of my day, sort of thing. And
Well,
then,
of
yeah,
course.
sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say that the candle light too is that disintegrates negative thought forms, and
Oh,
a light bulb won't do that.
Mm-hmm.
oh, I love that. I didn't know that.
So if you did have candles, a few candles around, real candles lit, it does actually, they go off when a negative thought form goes near a candlelight. It's just like when you light a string of fireworks. It just
Uh-huh.
sizzles right through the thought form and it disappears.
Hmm.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool. I like thinking about that. Yeah, I mean, I wish there was a place here in town that sold more candles, because I every time I go home to the States, I bring back, you know, a box full of, you know, candlesticks or tea light candles or something, because it's just a practice of mine. Yeah, and then the last thing is, like, sometimes people don't want to buy a plant because they don't have a green thumb, and or
Mm-hmm.
they're in a rental and they don't, you know, they're in and out and they can't take care of it, and they need something low maintenance. I think even if it's just like, you might not have the plant divas if you've got, you know, a vase that's full of, like, cut bougainvillea or cut flowers, but just having something natural and beautiful in your space makes a huge difference. So yeah, so
It's
those simple things, they don't really have to cost too much. It's a little bit about kind of rearranging is a little bit of just the sort of trial and error, like tweaking things, just seeing how things feel. as you move them, and then, you know, having
I
playing
like
around
that
with
the tip
lighting.
too, because that gives people the opportunity to create the space themselves instead
Mm-hmm.
of entering into something that somebody else has designed for them
Right.
and put
Yeah.
their personal spin on it. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, you know, things that you personally like, that bring in the color that you like, or that bring in the joy. I mean, they're small things. I went to a cafe in Portland not too long ago, and I was, you know, working on my laptop, and a young woman sat next to me, and it took her a while to set her table up. She had put out this beautiful like handkerchief, and then she put her laptop on top, and then she had like this little these like little crystals on the side of her laptop, and she just like made an office space right then and there, that you know, was like her own sanctuary in the middle of this busy cafe. And I looked at her, and I commented, because I just was admiring that, you know, there's just like things that we can travel with too, that produce that same feeling of cozy home, safety, grounding. You know, that doesn't have to come in the form of like a big rug or a, you know, big piece of furniture.
mm-hmm.
Well, for me, I've never been a decorator. I'm just not wired that way. So it sounds to me like better off just to go get you and bring you back.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's what I love to do, and I think it comes from growing up with a mom who, you know, she did this when we were kids. She would rearrange the furniture every, you know, I'm not kidding, like every 2 months she'd do something different. Or I've never seen someone wallpaper so much. This was back, you know, in the 80s, when people would like tear down the wallpaper and then labor to put up new wallpaper. And my dad would come home and he'd say, "Oh my, okay, now where's the sofa now?" You know, so so it was just something I experienced growing up, and I love that. I think for me, it's space is just uh, I don't know. It speaks to me, and I feel like it's an instrument for wellness for people that, you know, a lot of times we don't realize it, but it really is more than just like brings physical wellness. It's also like mental, emotional, like all of the things are kind of wrapped up into interior design. And it's not, and I don't think it's a coincidence that it's called interior design, because we're looking at the interior of, you know, the physical space, but we're also looking at our interior, our inner selves. And so there's definitely a synergy, a connection between the two. One last thing I want to share is that I just recently today I'm starting to write newsletters now from a place of more from the heart, you know, there's a place from personal experience rather than like full on marketing, you know, here are the top things to, you know, top trending colors, or, you know, things like that. It's more just things that speak to me, that I hope speak to other people. But today I wrote about divorce and design. And I just had this memory of how, when I went through the separation and divorce with my ex-husband, I had was going through our stuff and storage, and I was starting to weed things out, and I had this big, beautiful, like a glass candle holder. It's like a cylinder, and inside you could actually put something inside. So he and I had lived in Tunisia in North Africa for a while, and we filled it up with some sand from the Sahara. We had taken a trip to the Sahara Desert, and inside sat a candle. And so, you know, I was going through all this stuff, and it was really heart-wrenching to let go of some of these things, and some things I didn't want to let go of, and that candle holder I had, and I was going to take it with me to my new teeny tiny studio apartment. Like, you know, I was starting this new chapter of being a single woman in my 40s, and So I was going to take it with me. And as I was carrying it, it slipped and broke and shattered into pieces on the floor. And I started sobbing. And right then there was like a little gust of wind that came through, and it scattered all the sand into like these wispy waves down across the pavement and then disappeared. And it just felt like sort of like a metaphor for the ending of something. This container broke into pieces. The inside, the grains of sand were like probably accumulation of memories and moments with this person, like blew away. And it just made me think about how many times we can let go of things in order to make space and room for something new or for something else to come. And so so I mean, I think that just gives people an idea of how I'm approaching design. It's less about making your house look like something you'll find on Pinterest that's beautiful, but more about it translating into like where you are in life. What kinds of transitions are we going through at this point in time? Maybe it is a breakup, or maybe it is that your kids moved out and you've got empty nests going on, and you're downsizing, or maybe there's some other shift going on. We're always going through transitions, and so having our homes not be static and evolving with us, I feel like, is a great way to create a container and support for ourselves.
Yeah, and I think once you get into that mindset of, thoughts are things and things are things, and if the things around you don't make you feel well, you're putting out those negative thoughts, and then those are filling your home. Once you start getting rid of some of these items that are attached to so many of these thoughts, your space does end up feeling better.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we just have to go get you, have you go sort us out.
Well, the best thing about my work, Marie, is that it's online. So I've been an online interior designer for 8 years, and people often ask, like, how do you do this online? And so I have a platform that I've got a nice streamlined process now, and so folks basically start with an online questionnaire, and I ask all these questions about your space and who you are, where like how you want your space to feel. There's a place for you to upload a photo or photos of your room, and then you give me some rough measurements, and then we take it from there, and I create a 2D concept board, so a digitalized concept board that gives you an idea of how your space could look, or the design direction I think it could go in. And then on the site, you're able to, let me know what you like, what you don't like, and then we make some modifications. And by the end, you have this visual of what you're aspiring your space to look like. You have an online shopping list with all the links, so you just click on and you buy things as you're ready to buy them. You have a floor plan, and I let you know where to put the furniture, what the best optimal layout is, and then installation tips. So it's all, it's kind of like a DIY with professional guidance. So everyone has, you have some ownership in creating your space, but you've got me to help you through it, and it's up to you to execute it. So it like cuts the cost of traditional interior design by a whole lot, because I'm not there doing it for you, but I'm holding your hand, basically. Yeah. So it's been awesome. It's been great because I've been able to work with people around the world. So I've had clients in Moscow and in Brazil, and in I just finished a house for someone in Ontario in Canada, without having to go there. Obviously for me, like, the biggest satisfaction is being in the space and seeing the finished product. But this is close. If I can help people make their spaces feel good for them, then that's great. That's
I think that
exactly.
sounds fabulous. Really.
Yeah. Yeah. And it lets me be, lets me be geographically also independent. I love to travel, and I'm here, in Baja, but I like to get up to California to see my folks as much as possible. So it's been a great way for me to work and, be able to move around too.
You can redesign the world
I can.
from your Baja.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Christine.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. That was fun. It's great to talk about. And yeah, I have a really good time like sharing with others about how moving into this direction with design. So thank you so much.
How do people find you again?
So people could go to my website or Instagram. It's called The Good Abode, ABODE. I have to spell it out because sometimes people mix the D and the B. But The Good Abode, and yeah, they can. There's a contact page on my website, and we can chat about what you need. And my Instagram, I try and share tips and inspiration on there as often as possible. And so yeah, there.
Awesome. Thank you
Great.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you both, and have a great rest of the afternoon.
You as well.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.